Hi, I'm Barry List of Informs, and you're watching an interview in a series that we're doing about the scholarly journals that are published by Informs. Today we are with David Woodruff. He is the editor-in-chief of the Informs Journal on Computing. And let me start off by asking you a basic question. What is the journal? What will people learn in it?
Yeah, this journal provides broad coverage of the interface between operations research and computer science. So in practical terms, what that means is we're trying to take innovations in both areas and make them happen. So there's a lot of interest in applying optimization techniques, analytics techniques to real-world problems, but we're primarily tool builders. We're operating in the world where there's things to be optimized or improved, and we're producing the algorithms or analyzing the algorithms that do that.
And on a personal level, how did you become interested in the field? How did you learn about the journal?
Well, like a lot of people, when I got out of college, I wanted to get a job. So I worked as a programmer, and I had taken a mix of computer science and operations research courses as an undergraduate, so I worked as a software engineer. Then when I went back to get my PhD, that seemed at the time, and it's remained the case, that implementation issues for optimization algorithms, for the science of better, seem to be some of the most important things, both to me and to a lot of people. And since I kind of had the ability to work in those areas, I did.
Mm-hmm. And you learned about the journal through your...
And then the journal, of course, came into existence right at the end of my career as a PhD student. So I was very interested in the journal and became involved right away.
Now, I'm sure many of our listeners will want to know about submitting to the journal, about getting published. Do you have an editorial philosophy?
Yes, and this journal's unusual, again, in that it has very broad coverage. One submits the paper to an area in the journal. So if you're doing work in the interface between computer science and operations research, then you would want to go to the journal website and find the area, and I won't try to list them all here, but to find the area where your paper fits and submit directly to that area. So if you're working on knowledge and data management, you would submit to that area. If you're working on meta-heuristics or learning or heuristic search, you would submit to that area. If you're working on analysis of algorithms, you would submit to that area. So broad coverage of a lot of different areas, and the paper should fit in one of those areas.
And let's think of do's and don'ts. People can go to the website and learn the exact procedure for submitting a paper. Are there things that you encourage people to do? Are there red flags that will get a person rejected?
Well, write a good paper, of course, is the first thing. And then
do good research for starters.
Do good research for starters. Have something to say. And then as soon as you have something to say, you want to verify that it is to a reasonable person somewhere in the interface between computer science and operations research. And I guess that's we get papers that are pure computer science with no operations research component. It's not really appropriate for our journal, even if they're excellent papers. And the same thing, if it's pure operations research with no computer science component at all, then it's also not appropriate.
And are there any kinds of papers that especially resonate well with you?
Well, yes, again, good papers in the interface between computer science and operations research. And I hate to say it that way, but again, we have papers that span a really broad spectrum of operations research applied to mining data, through operations research applied to planning transportation systems. So the applications areas just are all over the map. We're interested in the methodology that's in the interface, again, between computer science and operations research.
What direction is the field going? Are you seeing any trends based on what you're publishing?
Well, there's a lot of trends. Massive parallelism and what I would call intermediate parallelism are a big trend, driven, of course, by the hardware. Everyone has 4 processors on their desktop at least, and some of us have multiple processors in our telephone. So sort of the intermediate range parallelism is a big factor. Then the cloud, many of us think of it as a place to store our photos, but it's also a place that has a lot of processing capability and a lot of massively parallel processing capability. You can get out your credit card and have access to tens of thousands of processors, each with their own copy of an optimization software package. And so there's a lot of research in how to use all of that. as long as we're on the topic, there's also research associated with what to do with massive data. So in the end, a lot of the analysis, both descriptive and prescriptive, that comes out of massive data results in optimization problems. So one should remember that most statistical estimators are optimization problems. For some of the ones you learned in grade school, they happen to have a closed form solution, but for a lot of the more interesting ones that deal with messy, massive data, with outliers, with the sort of trouble you have in the real world, then you have to explicitly write down the optimization problem and solve it, and these sorts of things are where a lot of the research is going.
Are there any papers or groups of papers that you look back on with pride? You say, I'm glad that paper came to me, I'm glad I published it.
Oh, I would be foolish to pick any one paper.
No favorites.
No, I'm not gonna play favorites, but I think the thing that makes the journal successful is that we are involved in a lot of pretty fundamental work on the one hand that has immediate and important application across a broad range of application areas.
Final question. Your journal is one of about a dozen or more that are published by Informs. What's the common thread? How does your journal connect with the other Informs journals?
Well, let's say connect, let's say step on the toes of. I mean, we don't restrict ourselves within operations research. Our goal is to find work that has a computer science component to it. So we're related to every other journal in a sense. Sometimes we get papers and we say to people, you know, this paper belongs in a different Informs journal because there's no computer science component to it. Conversely, they get papers and say, you know what, this paper, most of its contribution is methodological in the interface between operations research and computer science. You should send it to the Informs Journal on Computing. So we're well connected with all the other Informs journals.
Thank you, Professor, for doing this interview today, and thank you. If you're interested in learning more about Informs journals, please visit our website at www.informs.org. Thank you and good day.